Okay, well, thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Dr. Wang, Dr. Mabel, for the opportunity. It was really a privilege to take part in this enterprise. As you mentioned, that this is the first, and I don't recall having seen another book like this at any point. As was mentioned by Ambassador Chapuis, it seems to be there seems to be a shrinking space for communication, and CCG has been tireless in its effort to keep the channels open. Ambassadors in this shrinking space have a larger role, which is good perhaps for us. We have a bigger share, but it's a smaller pie, and we hope that the pie also starts to grow again very soon. I think that many of the points that were mentioned by me and my colleagues in the book reflect a common perception. In the case of our bilateral relationship with China, the extraordinary success of China's economic growth in the last 40 years had a transformational impact on the world. In this period, China went from being a faraway country to being by far Brazil's largest trading partner. Even in the most recent period, trade has continued to increase at a very fast pace, to the point that nowadays China is not only our largest trading partner, but its share is more than twice as large as the next trading partner. In the case of investment, China has also grown enormously in importance, but in the most recent period, this has become much more difficult because investment requires contact, investment requires travel, and this has not been possible. As you mentioned with regard to the two sessions, the Yangtze River the current cannot be reversed, but it does need management. In order, as Chinese history shows, we need to avoid the current from overflowing or from destroying. We have to manage this, and this requires contact. And another great initiative that CCG has been conducting these last few years is the Global Young Leaders Initiative. I think this is great. It's something with a long perspective, but definitely we have been going through a very difficult time. The fact that we have had virtually no contacts, especially between the private sector and the think tanks in person-to-person contacts, means that we are losing time at a moment when dialogue is ever more important, because the circumstances we are in have become more difficult than they were when we wrote this book. This also refers to what I mentioned in my brief essay about multilateralism. The world is facing a huge number of challenges which cannot be solved individually, not even by the largest nations. So we need cooperation, and this cooperation requires engagement of all. China's enlarged participation, China's size, not only the size of its population, but its capabilities nowadays give it an enhanced responsibility, whilst of course a legitimate claim to have a greater say in the way multilateral organizations are run and multilateral initiatives are conducted. Now, of course, China is not the only one responsible for the current difficulties that we face in international organizations, but it does share a responsibility. And to a certain extent, I have the impression that China has become very conservative. Its defense of multilateralism is welcome, but we cannot simply stand in defense of what was agreed in the past and not look at the changed context and work proactively to try to build common solutions to common challenges, which in some cases can even represent a danger to our own survival, to the survival of the world itself. But I think that this kind of initiative is an important step towards keeping the doors open to enhancing communication. There are clearly very different cultural aspects in, for instance, in decision-making in China, which are not always well understood by us. And at the same time, China sometimes has difficulty understanding decision-making in the rest of the world. There is no alternative to more and more dialogue and good faith effort to work constructively and together towards building a common future. Thank you.